Now with a bass player, I can comp and I can leave space, right? I don't really have much to worry about. All right, so as I mentioned in the intro, I'm going to be going over goal number 1, comping. And again, you need goal number 1, comping specifically just to play with other musicians if that's one of your goals. Or for solo piano, you need to comp for yourself. And if you're improvising in 2 different ways, in a solo piano way, you need to comp for yourself. Or if you're playing with a group and you're improvising, your left hand is mainly going to be responsible for comping, but you can add in other comping methods, devices, strategies into group playing as well. So again, goal number 1, comping is very, very important, hands down, needless to say. There are 2 direct paths, educational paths you can follow to start working on your comping. Path number one, as found in the document that I talked to you guys about in the intro. Path number 1 is with a bass player, This is going to be extremely easy, right? Now, with a bass player, I can comp and I can leave space, right? I don't really have much to worry about. Right? And I can leave space if I want to just do like I can leave all the space I want. I really don't feel pressured into having to play the bass, having to play rhythms, right? So that's why this path number 1 is the easiest, because it means you're comping with a bass player. You're not responsible for bass like you are playing solo piano. You're also not really responsible for rhythm, right? If there is a drummer there, they're going to be adding rhythm. But the bass player really is laying down time as well. So they're very responsible for the rhythm because they really can't stop playing like you can. A pianist can just stop playing. That's why this is going to be one of the easiest strategies here to start with. So I'm going to get into this. Again, in this free document, you will get all of the education components needed so that you can literally see what you need. So methods needed with a bass player, you need to learn comping zone 1 and 2. These are my created comping strategies. Like, you won't find this on the internet anywhere else. Like, I've literally created the systems over 10 plus years of running jazz piano school and 30 plus years of teaching. So comping zone 1 and 2, and comping zone 4, and then comping zone 3. Now, these are in order from easiest to most difficult. So let's check out comping zone 1 and 2. It says comping zone 1 equals low register. This is low register on the piano. That means down here. I'm going to demonstrate some of these. Nice and low, very, very lush. Okay, it says left-hand bass notes, right-hand rootless voicings. Now, if you're an intermediate or an advanced player, I was totally moving away from some rootless voicings, right? I was going to kind of some altered. I was doing some reharms. We'll get into all this. Don't worry. I'm just kind of demonstrating for you. But the key point is here in zone 1, we're very low on the piano. My rootless voicing is below middle C. My rootless voicings are below or right around middle C. Now, why is this important for comping? Mainly, when you're with a bass player or playing with a group, someone else is playing the melody. The greatest benefit to comping low is that you're staying below the melody and you're providing harmonies that sound like a rich, lush, cozy blanket by a warm fire for that melody to sit right over top of. And if they're soloing too, it's going to be the same thing. If they're improvising over top of you, which most people do, they'll improvise in this range right here. Your harmonies provide such a beautiful, low-end, rich harmonic support. The other important thing about staying low is that you're going to be adding essentially to your harmonic progression and textures and contrast for the entire piano. I hear so many students try to comp up here using very, very fancy drop twos, right? Which is great. But if you stay in that region the entire time, again, not only are you directly over top of the melody, so you're going to be clashing with them, you're going to be directly over top of the soloist, so you're going to be clashing with them too when they start to solo. These are very, very difficult to start with, and 9 out of 10 times, I'm actually not comping in that register ever. Most of the time, I'm comping down here in this low end in zone 1. I'm using zone 2, which is a little bit higher. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all of this. I know I'm moving very fast. The point here is for your mind shift. You want to have a mind shift about comping, right? And then a lot of times I'm up here in the top end. Right? All the way up in the top end. I do comp in zone 3, which is letter C of the document right here with my drop twos, but they're more for different textural contrasts, fills, different types of really light, kind of airy types of things. Obviously, this is like a Red Garland, Wynton Kelly style right here. I do use it a lot, but because of the myths that circulate, oh, everyone wants to play drop twos, everyone wants to get the Bill Evans sound, the Wynton Kelly sound, the Red Garland comping strategies, right? The Barry Harris drop twos. You know, this gets really, really targeted and overly targeted to a fault where you're really neglecting the rest of the piano, which really mainly should be used. It's a huge, huge myth. So to correct a lot of your comping strategies, literally stop what you're doing in this section of the piano from middle C to G. Leave that alone. Right? Master the other sections of the piano, which I'm about to explain to you in just a second, and then come back to this. Because I promise, as a professional jazz pianist, right, gigging, performances, leader of multiple bands, jazz piano school educator, creator, and founder for years, right, playing since I was 4, this section, right, not to toot my own horn, but I'm just trying to let you guys know that this section here is the section I use the least when comping, the least. Okay, so please just trust me on this. So that's going to be zone 3, right? So let's go into these zones. I'm going to demo these zones for you now, and I'm going to go to the tune All the Things You Are, okay? I'm going to demo the zone. So zone 1, like I just said, is rootless voicings and bass notes. Let's talk about bass notes before I demo this real quick. Brendan, you can't play bass notes when there's a bass player. Please remove that from your head right now, because some of my best, most rich voicings that I've been complimented on over and over and over by bass players. They're saying, oh, it's so nice that you're playing bass notes down there, so I don't always have to play the root. That's one of the compliments I get. And the other compliment I get from bass players and soloists is, oh, it's so nice that you play bass notes, because when you play your reharms, I can actually hear your reharms. Now, do you know why that is? If I play a tritone with an A flat 7 and I have a bass note, this is directly influencing my sound over here. If I don't play this bass note and I let the bass player play the D, it makes my chord an altered chord. it literally turns my chord into an altered chord. So if I don't play my own bass notes for my reharms and different chords, then the bass player essentially dictates all the harmonies. These are advanced strategies, but even as a beginner, you really need to know why it's so important to accompany your right hand with left hand bass notes. Okay, the only thing you really shouldn't do is just walk bass. Like, don't walk bass while another bass player is walking bass. That'll be very, very bad. But playing bass notes with your right hand to just uphold the harmonic root, very good. Very, very, very good. Okay? So, zone 1, like I said, rootless voicings or any sort of other advanced voicings are going to be down here in this low end of the piano. I'm comping through using my bass notes with rootless voicings. Obviously, I'm using different types of rhythms. I can use reharms and stuff. We won't really get into that. But again, this provides a beautiful low-end rich palette. And I know you can't see my bass note down here, but you can see it on the notation right there. Right? You see it on the notation, that low end C. So I'm going to be playing bass notes the entire time during this demonstration. I'm going to comp through all the things you are. We'll do it a little bit faster because that'll take a long time. Let's go at 1:30. I'll comp through one time. And I'm going to demonstrate just zone 1 for you. I'm going to demonstrate zone 1. I'll add in no reharms, which gives you guys lots of room for progressions, right? And improvement. And I'm really not going to add in any extensions. I'm just going to use the extensions that are currently locked into rootless voicings, mean all natural 9s and 13s. Okay, no, I won't add in anything else, and here's what it's going to sound like. Space. Light. Airy, right? Space. Just regular rootless voicing there, just so you don't get confused with extensions. Great. So again, zone 1, hopefully that was helpful for you to see, to hear, okay? Because it's very, very easy just to go about learning how to do that. Now, let's say you wanted to play in a group, right, with a bass player. If you did that, they'd be like, wow, you're great. You're really, really good. I mean, most players that set out to play in a group really can't even do that. Like at the basics of comping, they can't go to zone 1 and play rootless voicings with their right hand and left hand bass notes just as I demonstrated. Now, again, I'm not adding in any fancy extensions. I'm not adding any passing movements. I'm not adding any reharms, right? Here's what maybe 16 bars of all of that would sound like with some more advanced rhythms and movements. You have so much to grow into. You don't need any of that stuff right now. Just really work on what I just demonstrated right now. Let me show you another demonstration here. Here's with reharms and passing movements. Overboard. Right? Again, I was trying to go overboard to demonstrate how much you have like at your disposal to grow into. Like when you really learn the basics, you can sequentially walk down the path. Okay? So that's going to be zone 1. Let's go over zone 2, right? So zone 2. Zone 2 is now going to move up here further into 1 and 7 rootless voicing comping. So I'm now adding just one extra note to my comping. And again, for the goal of playing with other musicians, this is exactly what you should be working on. And it's all in the notebook and the free giveaway, right, that I showed you in the beginning right here. This is completely free. Okay, you can go to jazzpianoschool.com/roadmap. I think there's 2 different ways to get it. Let me just check this just to make sure that's working real quick. I forgot the link to my own giveaway. Anyway, I'll find it. I'll put it in the notes because it's one of those links. I just can't remember the URL off the top of my head. Anyway, let's go to zone number 2. Okay, zone number 2. So zone number 2, like I just mentioned, is going to be adding right here, like it says, zone 2, mid to low, right hand rootless voicings, left hand 1 and 7, 1 and 3, or 1 and 10. So it's almost identical to zone 1, except for the fact that we're adding 1 note into zone 2. We're just adding 1 note in to zone 2, right? So if I go back to the piano now, and I go to our tune, well, let's just go to here so you guys can see that. So here's middle C. Again, before with zone 1, I'm kind of around, I'm really below middle C. Sometimes I was going like up above it, but still with left hand bass notes, but mainly staying down here low. Zone 2 is really gonna come up higher, where like, as you can see here, I have 1 note that's below middle C. I can move up even higher. All of these are really zone 2 comping strategies. Now, the zones kind of overlap, meaning like this chord right here could be a zone 2 or it could be a zone 3, meaning I could turn this directly into a drop 2 voicing. Right? So I could play zone 2 or I could play zone 3. It's up to me, really, however I want to create the sound. But the zones overlap there, okay? We won't really worry about that yet, but they do have a higher playing register, right? Now that I have this 7th in there. And that's because without the 7th, this feels thin. If I just play the root without the 7th, there's a huge gap between this. That 7th or the 3rd really balances out the voicing and allows me to play nice big spreads like this 1 and 10. And again, we won't really worry about the 1 and 10 right now. So again, we're playing almost the exact same strategy as zone 1, meaning we have the bass notes, we have our rootless voicings. I'm going to add the 7th in now, and then I'm going to voice lead into my 1 and 3, and voice lead into my 1 and 7, right? So this is for structure 1 and my rootless voicings. Okay, if I were to do this the other way around, right, for structure 2, I'd have this shape, this, and then this. So I have 1 and 3 in my left hand, going to 1 and 7 in my left hand, going to 1 and 3 again in my left hand, right, as you can see here. So here is what zone 2 sounds like comping through all the things you are. Here we go. So again, even this is getting a little bit low. I'm going to jump up here. You hear these beautiful, this is legitimately a 2-hand voicing that you're creating. This is how beautiful 2-hand voicings start. Jump up. You hear these beautiful, lush zone 2 voicings. Rootless voicing in my right hand. I'm going to play regular here. And 1 and 3 or 1 and 7 in my left hand. That's what zone 2 is. 1 and 3 in my left hand or 1 and 7, my rootless voicing in my right hand. Okay? So that's all zone 2. That's zone 2. Now, with every single zone, there's ways to spice it up. There's ways to make progress or elevate the sound to a higher professional sound. But these are the basics. These have to be worked on really first until, like I said, you can really start to get into different types of movements. I can get into different types of reharms into my B flat minor 7. What I'm playing right now are top of the notch professional voicings that I use all the time, but I didn't start here. I started with my zone tune comping strategies, and so should you, because this is really the gateway to get yourself there, right? Trying to really just focus in on a lot of reharms and drop twos. I mean, it really takes you away from the fundamentals, the base, the support that uphold a true professional jazz pianist. And again, I promise you, any great jazz pianist can do exactly what I'm showing you here. These are legitimately the fundamentals. Like, these are necessities absolute necessities to be able to comp like a pro. And again, this is what you should be focused on because it's 90% of the work. If you can get this down, you're 90% of the way there. I promise you. I promise you. So that's going to be zone 2. Let's dive back to the slide here. Okay. Zone 4. Okay. I'm just going to comp this real quick to show you. Zone 4 is a high register comping. So your right hand octaves up high with left hand rootless voicings in the middle of the piano. So right hand octaves, sometimes with a fifth, again, with left hand rootless voicings in the middle of the piano. So here is what that sounds like, right? So my left hand this is a C minor 7 rootless voicing. My right hand has an octave. Now, which notes do we play? Let's just start with the chord tones. So here's the 3rd, 5, 7, right? For all the things you are. Here's my F minor 7 rootless voicing with the 3rd, right? And you just want to voice lead these notes through your chord tones. So again, if I'm playing an F minor 7, my left hand has rootless voicings, my right hand has roots. I could stay on that to go to my B flat minor 7, and then go to my G, and then stay on the G for my A flat major 7. So this is what zone 4 sounds like. So here, right, you won't be able to see my top octave, but you'll be able to see the bottom note. So what I'm playing right now, again, is like F here, sees my bottom note, and you can't really see this note because it's cut off, but that's okay. Again, the whole strategy here is my left hand's using rootless voicings, my right hand's using octaves. So if I go and play this now, here's what it's going to sound like. High-end register sound, right? Okay, I think that's really all you need. So again, my right, beautiful contrast. I know you couldn't see this too much, but beautiful, beautiful contrast, right? So again, when I'm playing and I want to jump up to the zone 4 here, it creates such a beautiful sound. Now, the beauty of this is that you're kind of cutting over top of the melody, right? I might even move up this high sometimes, right? Or again, my left hand can be here, but I tend to go very light and very sparse. And I try to pick moments where I'm filling in. So I might go... So they're more like fills or cuts or light movements because they're so high here in that top register for zone 4 that it's really going to cut through. It's going to interfere if you're overlapped with the melody. So it's kind of like a very delicate comping zone that you want to work on. Again, that's really one of the last zones you want to work on. 1 and 2 are going to be first, right? In letter A, letter B, then you'd move on to letter B, which is comping zone 4. Okay, and then finally comping zone 3, again, is going to be your beautiful, lush, most difficult zone 3, right? So again, when I comp in zone 3, I'm really up from middle C to kind of like here. These are mainly drop 2s, right? Almost all drop 2s. Different extensions. If you want to go further into this is just a 2-5-1 in the key of C. Reharms. And again, some people call these 4-note voicings. I call them drop 2s. They're so easy with my system because once you learn 1 and 2, you simply can take your rootless voicing and turn it into a drop 2. I'm not going to get into all that here. You can create drop 2s out of any chord. A drop 2 isn't a specific set of notes. I'll say that one more time because there's a lot of myths about drop 2s. A drop 2 isn't a specific set of notes. A drop 2 is an arranging technique, meaning I can take any voicing, and if I were to make this a drop 2, I'm simply dropping the second note or voice, right, from the top down to my left hand. So this G flat here, I would drop that down here. That's essentially, whoops, I'm missing that note. That's a drop 2, right? Is that unbelievable? I think a lot of you out there might be like, wait, what? Yes, so exactly. If I take any chord, I can turn it into a drop 2 just by dropping the second note or voice. We call it drop 2, like a voice. This is a choral arranging technique that I use, right, for a lot of voice arrangements. You can be used in horns, trumpets. It's an arranging technique. So on the piano, you're using an arranging technique to create these beautiful drop 2 sounds and it's an arranging technique. And again, I use this in zone 3. So I'll give you a little demo of what this is going to sound like. You can see beautifully all my drop 2s here. I'll throw in a couple more spices and things like that so I can spice it up for you, but here's what this is going to sound like. Done many long comps for a while. Great. So that's all zone 3. Now, clearly with that demonstration, you can really see how that would get a little boring contrastually. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. Contrastually. It will get kind of boring because of the contrast. You're staying in one texture, one sound, one vibration range, right? You're really just hearing this middle texture. Like for a great comping sound, you need all textures. You need to move around. And B, you're going to be literally sitting right over top of the melody. So anyone playing the melody, you're going to be directly clashing. Like every single note you play in a drop 2 is directly clashing with the melody, and mainly a lot of the times with an improvisation solo as well. So like the drop 2 zone 3 is what I recommend to students the least. Like sure, it's the most hyped up area in jazz piano, right? On the internet, on YouTube, learn your drop 2s. You got to learn your drop 2s. The Barry Harris, right? You heard me do some of the moving passing chords. Fantastic to learn. I'm not saying that. I mean, you definitely sound like a top echelon player when you start to throw those in. But as far as really becoming a complete jazz pianist, this is the last zone you should be working on. And if you spend time learning the other zones, I promise you, you're going to be so much better of a pianist, like exponentially better and faster, so much faster, right? It's like doing drills that relate really to nothing, or like they're the smallest amount of, exercise that really pertains to some sort of game or craft or skill that you're learning. It's like 1% of the entire puzzle, whereas you could work on 99% of the entire puzzle with a couple of exercises and really make strides and loads of progress. So just to let you know again, my live programs are open. You can go to jazzpianoschool.com/live program to get the info on that. Those are going to start in the fall. And again, I forgot the URL for the roadmap, but I did say in the beginning of the video. But you can just click on the link in the notes below. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to be doing part 2. All on solo piano, again, following the document that I was showing to you. So go get that document because this whole series is literally on that. And as you scroll through the document, again, a lot of things change. I'm going to go into solo piano. Path 2 is talking about intermediate to advanced without a bass player, right? And why comping like this, you essentially have to do the role of the bass player. But then again, it goes into the other 2 goals, solo piano and improv. So that's what I'll be working on in the next podcast. With that being said, hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you later. Want a clear roadmap for your jazz piano progress? Download our free Jazz Piano School flowchart. This will map out all the exact skills and tools you'll need to reach your jazz piano goals. Grab it for free by going to jazzpianoschool.com/flowchart or click the link in the show notes to get it now.